One more time. Remember that Daft Punk
Mm,
song back in the day?
you're right. I
One
don't want to
more.
get struck,
Yeah.
but one more time.
I
I
think
think three.
if we sing it, we're
Yeah.
safe.
And we're
It's
not
a
over, what is it, like 8 notes or whatever. If we just do, that's the beauty of one more time, is that you can always do it one more time.
Remember that party? We had a party that one time in that song, man. It irritated me. It was wasn't that song like 15 or they had a 15-minute remix maybe. But yeah,
Oh
what's
yeah.
that? Late
Yeah,
2000s
no.
maybe?
I think that was the same summer that we were playing Gnarls Barkley Crazy over and over again, right?
Wow. Wow. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
nostalgia, nostalgia. Well, we're
Hmm.
crazy people. It's Larry and Phil. We're back again. Um, just gonna check in on a few different things. I thought I'd go ahead and touch base on what's in the news world. I like doing that before we kick off. The big things on the right were the Kamalo Anthony. I believe I'm saying
Yeah.
his name. The
Right.
verdict came in on that. It was a quick verdict. He ended up getting 35 years. Um, and so everyone was expecting, riots and, riot season. But I don't see the energy for that for a variety of reasons. I mean, I even went over to Reddit and they had pretty base takes. They were like, yeah, okay. There was no rage or anything. And I don't visit Reddit very often, but I went over to Reddit News and the main sub or the main thread for it, and there was very little rage. So I think everyone's going to be disappointed who were expecting another summer of love or anything.
Some sort of, yeah, huge riot or whatever. I guess
Meanwhile,
who is out there who's wanting a big old riot? Any of
I,
those assholes, those accelerationist assholes. You know what
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Well, and plus there's something to watch at home on TV. It's something to do. Now Ireland
The
is
sad
popping
state
off.
of affairs. Yep.
Yeah, Northern Ireland, they're like burning shit down, but that's a whole nother creature. That was the other big story is in Ireland. Let's see. So what else is going on? Iran popped up again. There's some tit for tat. They shot down a helicopter last night. No American injuries. So we retaliated this evening, and I'm not sure what the current state is. Last I heard, they were firing on American bases, but I don't know if they were intercepted or if they landed or what the story is because I'm streaming with you. I'll probably keep an eye on that as we talk.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
yeah, if you find an update or whatever.
and that's I think all the big exciting news from today. That's about everything going on.
Kind of the
Oh,
left people
oh,
are definitely reacting to the downed helicopter is definitely a sign of the spiraling of everything in Iran is definitely the take from the left.
yeah. Oil isn't
So
reacting that way. It's still it bumped up a tiny bit, but it's still like even that's what I was just watching Steve Lichtner over on Agenda Free TV, and he was just
Steve,
looking at the oil chart. Yeah, he's a dorky dude, but I mean his sources. If you just want to pop in and check something when something's popping, I'll pop in there and check it out when I'm not looking at those sent sources. So,
because you know what's nice
um.
about it? You can get whatever's popping right then, but it's agenda free news.
Yeah, it's agenda
He's
free
got
news. Yeah,
he's hitting that lane, baby. He's hitting
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Shout
He's
out to
like,
Steve.
unisexes to sexuality. He's like that for news. He's like bland, but you know what I mean. Yeah, or asexual. He's unusual.
Same with like Judy Woodruff over at like PBS NewsHour or whatever. Give me that. Hook it to my fucking veins, bro. I love it. Right.
That's that. That's what's going on there. And Platner's winning, and he's winning big. So he ain't moving unless they come out with. I mean, they'd have to drop some kind of political some bad juju on him because there's nothing that's going to make him budge now. He won big enough that there's no way you can pry him out of there unless you've got the worst dirty news, dirty stuff on him ever. He's there for good.
Okay. So yeah, that's kind of the up to. Oh, and also the Trump showed up at the Knicks game, so he put a hex on him and broke the winning streak and everything. So they're
Yeah, and
blaming.
then yeah, they had a riot. Yeah, they're blaming the riot on him. Yeah, everything's Trump's fault.
It's all Trump's fault, man.
It's always
Um,
Trump's fault.
that's
And
definitely
he,
why they dropped the game. It
yeah,
seems
and he,
pretty clear. They were on
but
what 12, 13 game win streak, and then Trump shows up. So I don't know
yeah,
any other explanation. We don't
yeah,
trust science anymore, so it's clearly
yeah.
that's what's
Even though
going
he
on.
was asleep the whole game, I just don't get it.
That's part of the spell, actually. Is he needed to fall asleep to imbue them with a bit of like whatever chemical gets released that makes you all sleepy.
Well,
Melatonin?
yeah, he was lucky. He was lucky to get there. He's almost dead. I keep hearing he's about dead. So,
Yeah, because that's the thing. Yeah, he posts nonstop, which he does. That's my complaint. But that also means the second he doesn't post for 3 hours, he's dead. They're covering it up.
he's
He
dead.
just died. Like
It's
it's just stick
it's
to the one criticism. He's out of his mind posting 75% of the time. Like, isn't that enough for
it,
you? God damn.
it reminds me of the Putin being dead stuff in the first 2 years of the Ukraine war, where Putin was always on the edge of death. They did the same thing to him. Look at his ankles. His ankles are swollen. That means he's got cardio, this, that, or the other, and he's going to be dead soon.
His
So
heart's giving out. Hmm.
it's funny stuff. But anyway, I think that about covers everything going on in the wide world of news. I didn't see anything else really.
And it's we're going to kind of catch up a little bit with. It's going to be related to the Dave Rubin clip that we covered yesterday. One of the YouTube channels that was mentioned was the Vanguard. We're going to start with that. I underestimated them. I said they had like 60,000 some subscribers off the top of my head. They have like 130 something. So good on these motherfuckers. They're literally just two dudes at a KC who are reacting to news and shit. They're just from the left side of the equation, right, far left.
Alrighty.
And I,
New
I,
new to me.
right, they stuck out to me because it's fun to get a look at like how people view and compare like the Young Turks to like a Majority Report to a Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball type people on the left, like having someone who's I thought a much smaller voice, but really they're like a B tier on the left apparently, and how it is they kind of rank different people within their own faction, so to speak. So that's really what I want to highlight here. Let me pull them up.
Okay, Diggy.
Mhm.
Check out that newsstand. Old time newsstand. Now, are you using clips? I'll have to wait for you to come back, and then we'll check and see if you're using clips. My mic's been sounding funny, people. I don't know what's up. I'm not a great
Hello,
sound engineer. Hello, welcome back.
hello.
We were just commenting on. Are you using stock photos of these old for this old newsstand?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're
That
a
I've
good
just
lefty.
gotten like
You don't mess with that AI.
right, right. Yeah, I keep it old school. You know what I'm saying? I like to have real life shit going on here. But here's the Vanguard is
Maha
reacting to.
again.
Yeah, they're
Oh, they're
reacting to
reacting.
Maha
Well, what
because
we
you'll
watched
remember
last night.
this is exactly because they mentioned the Vanguard. So they're kind of reacting to themselves being mentioned. We also get a little bit of a Sam Cedar mention. Uh, and depending on where we cut this, we might go to another clip as well where they kind of touch on, trying to remember, oh, Anna Kasparian for Young
Hassan
Turks.
Piker calls this guy Uncle Sam,
So is that
and
coming
this
through?
group called
Mhm.
Vanguard.
So as you guys
You're
know,
good.
Jillian Michaels in her debate with Sam Cedar not only name dropped the Vanguard, but she literally played a clip from our show. We'll revisit that in a little bit. But she decided to name drop the Vanguard once again, this time on her other shitty podcast, Actual Friends, which we've roasted in the past. But it's been a while, Zach, since we've had the chance to react to some of the Actual Friends show, starring not just Jillian Michaels and Dave Rubin, but also Sage Steele and Dr. Drew. All my favorite, political minds and thought leaders in one podcast. What a thrill. I never miss an episode of this show. But yeah, once again,
So you're already picking up on it's definitely they're on the far left and very much into the um, being intellectual thought leaders and pressing us to the left is definitely very much part of that vanguard mentality. I'm trying to remember what in like Yeah, right. No,
Yeah.
I'll let him go on.
Jillian Michaels unable to keep our goddamn names out of her fucking mouth. I feel like Will Smith. Keep my wife's name out your goddamn mouth. But either way, let's take a look at this. Pretty funny stuff. Pretty hilarious cope from Jillian and Dave Rubin here.
And because they thought I was like buying engagement, it was a nightmare. And what's funny is that before we engaged in that conversation, I didn't even remember interacting with Sam Cedar. I didn't even know who he was, only to find out that there were numerous videos of himself and, the Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker calls this guy Uncle Sam, and this group called Vanguard. And they'd already sent me like all of these death threats to this email I'd set up for the podcast. It is.
I am still calling cap that anybody actually sent her a death threat. Certainly not from our audience. You guys are crazy and wild, and you might have sent her some unfriendly things, but nobody is going to threaten your life from the Vanguard audience or the Majority Report audience, for that matter.
Yeah, and again, just in case anyone's confused about the context of this, we'll watch a little bit more. But let's just revisit this original moment in case anyone forgot the context of this accusation.
Again, I'm trying to get back to you within 3 hours. A man of your stature, I apologize. But your followers spammed the email I put out. Saw it number 2.
Not sure how to reach you, but if you're so inclined, have someone from your office email our podcast line. And then she puts her email there. If you guys
Who's that handsome devil?
know, now you know what her address is. So go wild with that shit.
And they.
So yes, obviously we made the joke, go wild with that shit. But the point remains, she doxed herself. We didn't dig up her fucking public email address and post it on Twitter. She did that shit. Anyone with a high.
But just throwing in, so go wild with that shit. What's the implication there? Like is Beavis and Butthead show up in like their opening intro thing, and it's so perfect for these dudes. They are the Beavis and Butthead of the far left.
Yeah.
Profile. Guess what? You want to post your fucking email on Twitter, your public email, literally dox yourself. You're going to get some nasty email. You're going to get some trolls hitting up your fucking email to tell you to go fuck you.
But also, I'm going to doubt that any of them were death threats, which is always so weird to me online. Is just like, be okay with completely abusing like a full-on assault in a motherfucker's inbox or notifications, but then also be like, oh, I don't think you got death. That's going a little far, don't you think? Fuck off with this bullshit. But yeah, go wild
yourself or whatever people said, right? And obviously, we never told anyone to send death threats. But even if, again, someone did jokingly send in a message like that, how are you going to blame that on us? How are you going to blame that on the Vanguard? You posted your own fucking email. You doxed yourself, bro. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, and even at the time we put up this, email address, 66.3 thousand people had seen it. If you're to believe the absolutely fake numbers that Twitter puts out, let's say 10,000 people scrolled past that. I don't know. It's still a lot more people already in the first 3-4 hours, however long that tweet had been up when we reacted to it. Now, thousands and thousands of more people have reacted to it. But not only that, Gavin, on X or Twitter, when you put your email out there, you're giving it to a shitload of bots. Like 60%, 70% of the user base on X is just a bot. So, of course, you're getting spammed from emails because a bunch of bots just...
Like, who programs a bot to send death threats? That doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
Got your email address, and now they're going to send you shit.
Yeah. You got anything on that one?
Yeah, it's bloviating without any kind of backup. I mean, so now, 60% of it's all bots or whatever. And there are a lot of bots on Twitter. I'm not denying that, but nobody knows the percentages or anything like that. As far as influencers getting death threats, every single one of them says it at some point in their career. So, I mean, it's like a passage of right. When we get large enough, maybe we'll get a couple at some point. They'll have to come find me up in the conclave.
Have I not mentioned yet, Larry? Yeah, that we actually have some champagne chilling on ice 24/7 for when it first happened, so that we can celebrate in the conclave.
But
that
yeah,
will
apparently
be
there's some
when
kind
we
of
know that we made it.
yeah, some rite of passage for influencers. But right now, yeah, this just sounds like bickering, bickering, and we owned them. We're roasting her. We're owning them and roasting her. But yeah.
Yup, 100%. So again, let's hear Jillian.
I don't know if they have 100% on any of their merchandise, but one of them, I think it's Beavis on the left, says 100% all the time, and I fucking love it. Like, it's these guys are weirdly endearing because they strike me as having way less like of a veneer to them as like a Kyle Kalinski's trying to put on a certain facade.
Yeah.
or like Cenk has had like a what 15-year long YouTube career that he has some like reputation he's trying to uphold.
Yeah,
These guys, at least, it's very raw and real, you know.
yeah, it's like us. It's just a couple of guys. It sounds like a couple of guys shooting the shit, and it brings up like last night. I would listen back a little bit of and last night I made all kinds of mistakes. I was flying real high, and I even called Andrew Wilson Doug Wilson at one point. I mixed up some of the theology. So I mean, I made a few mistakes. As I was like, oh boy, last night was
Didn't
terrible.
even catch that.
Yeah, I know. So if we ever get large, I'll be clipping that, going, "This guy's an idiot," and well, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. I don't pretend to be anything else other, but but yeah, they give that vibe. They're not very polished. Polished. They're not uber polished. Like you said, Kyle's got everything: the lights, the right cameras, the hair dye, the right haircut, whatever. They just seem like whatever.
Right. Yeah, these guys just want to make content, and
yep.
It's out to him for that because this shit's fucking difficult as fuck. All right, we'll let him go again.
This group called the Vanguard, once again.
Buying engagement, it was a nightmare. And what's funny is that before we engaged in that conversation, I didn't even remember interacting with Sam Seder. I didn't even know who he was, only to find out that there were numerous videos of himself and, the Hassan Piker calls this guy Uncle Sam, and this group called Vanguard. And they'd already sent me like all of these death threats to this email I'd set up for the podcast. It is exactly, Dave. They're the same people cut from the same cloth. It is exactly what you dealt with. And you get to the point where you're like, all right, you know what? I really want civil discourse. But there is a faction of the left that is truly mentally unwell. And then quick sidebar, back to the original topic at hand.
Your group just elected a literal pedophile that we all knew was a pedophile for the second time.
And who is himself mentally unwell.
Yeah, I can't stay awake during the Knicks game during the finals. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So, I mean, just completely unhinged. And also it's hilarious how she is so triggered by Hassan calling Sam Seder Uncle Sam. Like, this is the second time she's reacted to that as if it's some crazy thing to say and not just like an obvious funny joke. Like, who gives a fuck if he calls Sam Seder Uncle Sam? It's just a joke because Sam Seder's like old enough to be Hassan's uncle, and kind of fills that role. Plus, it's a funny play on like Uncle Sam. Like, who cares? She acts like that's such a crazy gotcha. Yeah, it's exactly.
Man died for Uncle Sam, and it wasn't him. It was the real Uncle Sam. He's an imposter. Stole.
Right. She's clearly, though, she's speaking to, I guess, the affiliation, right? The close links that are the bonds that are created between these like talking heads, these media persons.
Yeah.
The comments
and we talked about last night. She's in her clan. She's talking with her clan, and of course, you always other the other, just like they're othering her. Now, I did want to nitpick where he goes, when your side picked it. No, a majority of America, the majority vote picked the quote unquote literal PDF. So I'm just saying, no one believes that shit. Because if they believe that shit, then that wouldn't have happened.
They certainly can't address it. Yeah, you can't phrase it that way because then you have to address that head on. Why did the majority of Americans? Voting Americans.
Shout out to Darren Trapp, who says Vanguard. Enough said. So shout out to you, Darren Trapp. I don't see you in our chat very much, but there's a Vanguardian in the flesh in the comment section. So that's hilarious. And yeah, just more cope from Jillian Michaels.
Yeah, I saw the Majority Report also reacted to this really quickly. If we want to throw that on screen, they have an interesting theory. Sam Seder has an interesting theory that he's going to put forward about Jillian Michaels, which I'm interested to see if you agree with.
Let's hear.
Yeah. And this group called Vanguard, and they'd already sent death threats to this email I'd set up for the podcast.
A positive reception if anybody needs me to remind you.
And they'd already sent death threats to this email I'd set up for the podcast. It is exactly, Dave. They're the same people cut from the same cloth. It is exactly what you dealt with. And you get to the point where you're like, all right, you know what? I really want civil discourse. But there is a faction of the left that is truly mentally unwell.
Wow.
And then quick sidebar, back to the original topic at hand.
Wait. So I just have to say for a second. So is this her basically foreclosing the possibility of debates with other leftists in the future?
So this like setup, you don't see clips with this like background and homeboy in the glasses, Sam Seder. They don't ever he's been on a Surrounded, so they might have clowned on him in right wing media for that
Yeah,
week or whatever.
I remember he popped up for one story. I don't remember what it was about. This was,
Yeah.
I don't know, a year ago, year and a half ago ish. I'm sorry, I just, stuff comes in my head and stuff goes back out. And yeah, he's just not one of the lefties I see pop up in the right wing bubbles like near zero. I just don't know.
What's interesting, because I think this show he took over for Janine Garofalo, I believe, was the host previous to him on
Did we
Majority
did we
Report.
talk about her a bit back, Janine Garofalo, or was that off camera? We were asking where she was and Silverman and
I
all that,
don't remember.
where they
Yeah,
what they're
if that
doing
was on camera or
nowadays.
not. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it's what I think is really interesting because he's clearly, a Hollywood connected guy. He's a voice actor on Bob's Burgers. Have you watched Bob's Burgers at all?
Yeah, I've caught a few episodes. I wish I could get into it like, I got into animation back in the day. I know it's great. I just didn't dive deep into it. But yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, no, it's great, and I do love his character, so it makes it endearing just to hear Hugo's voice coming out of this guy telling me, pretty left wing views. So I have to
Because
watch myself a bit. Sam Sear, like if I'm ranking how insane the left is, like the far left, because I'm on the left. It's Cenk is all the way out there. He's hooking on the end of the horseshoe already, and I really think of Sam Cedar as like the closest thing to an establishment lefty. Like he's closer in on the horseshoe. I don't know how else to put that other than it feels like Emma and Sam are closer in on the same part of the horseshoe.
of such a horrible experience. It wasn't because you manhandled her in the debate, and I'm saying that in a colloquial way and not in a way that refers to her gender, because I know she's sensitive to some of these things. But it wasn't the fact that you manhandled her in the debate. It's the fact that the left has all of these bot farms, and if she were to set up another debate with a leftist, she could get even worse death threats.
I have a suggestion for a remedy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the remedy here should be that you demand a cut of the revenue from that live ad for LifeLock.
Well, that she gave from LifeLock. Yes. I mean, fair.
And this is interesting.
I have gotten death threats on social media, but LifeLock has never contacted me.
I'm not sure that's something they do.
I don't know that that's what they do. That's sort of interesting. But I guess what I take issue with there is that.
So in that clip, if you watch the elongated version, she talks about how LifeLock, which is some company that like oversees her channel and or her insurance and things like that. I can't say.
Is it like a sponsor?
Let's look it up so I don't misrepresent what LifeLock is, but it's a protection company. LifeLock is an identity theft prevention software. And she claims that they were reaching out to her because of how many death threats she was receiving. Sam, throughout this live stream from that point on, and he reaffirms later, he's calling cap on that. He's saying that's not something that LifeLock does. This gentleman, who I'm unfamiliar with, seems to agree with him, but that she might be lying about the fact that this independent software company had to reach out to her to verify that she was still safe, because they detected a surge of some kind in the number of death threats she was getting to the email that was associated with her account with them. Seems far-fetched to me. I'm inclined to agree with Sam and this other gentleman, but what do you...
At either rate, that gives you a bit of a taste of like Sam Cedar, rather than being like, I got to talk about how terrible Israel is all day. He's actually, does LifeLock do that kind of thing? And he did it for, however long. He took up however much airtime. They all talked about, did LifeLock. They're calling cap on whether or not LifeLock is the one who alerted Jillian Thomas to how many fucking death threats she was getting or whatever the fuck. Like, it's I don't know. This is, instead of news or journalism, we get commentary that slips into drama slop. It's just...
I say, who cares? Who cares? And number two, so much for discourse. I'm just saying at this point, why even bother trying? If you're a big kind of content creator, why bother even trying to have someone cross the aisle and talk to you? So that's probably the last time she will try to talk to a lefty. So you close up. Maha's the closest thing to talking to MAGA that you can get, and now that's
at least the last time she'll talk to Sam Cedar. That's for damn sure. That's people burn bridges like that, not realizing how it might impact. Yeah, Jillian's
Now,
willingness to have more conversations with people who
I
are
don't
going to
think
disagree
I
with
don't
her.
think Sam Cedar gives a fuck. I'm gonna be honest, but I'm just saying this goes to
Not at all.
show in our country how walls are just going up. Walls are
Right,
just going up, and
absolutely.
at some point, it's going to turn into an existential thing with this cold civil war. Like I said,
We're already
England,
there.
it's burning again. They're starting to burn now. So I mean, it's just now it's almost just a matter of time. Like I don't know if you can't talk to each other and you live in the same space and you can't talk to each other, then that's going to lead to something worse. It's unfortunate.
Absolutely programmed to not talk to each other. Yeah, no, it's definitely unfortunate. There was, I think, another
Do you think?
minute of this
I
that
mean, yeah, it seems like
was
bullshit. The life ridiculous.
us them talking
Yeah,
about.
and also it's like,
the
is
death
Jillian Michaels
threats.
really trying to get people to believe that right wingers don't send people death threats? Like, oh, only the left does this. I'm sure the right wing would never do that.
When did that ever come up? Like, there's this is a weird rhetorical trick. Is like how often they want to, or anyone wants to phantomly bring up. Oh, and they wouldn't give you the same leeway, the same bit of good faith that you're asking, or that people might ask you to give them in this situation. Like
There's
it's right.
crazy
We're
people
so
everywhere,
fucked,
and then
man. We're so
yeah,
stuck.
there's crazy people everywhere, and any kind of in any kind of grouping, you're going to have your crazies. In any fan bases, you're going to have your crazies. It's just the fact. Now, I will say it's not as deep in our culture to dox or to SWAT or to normally a conservative who runs into a liberal and gets a bad response. You put them on ignore. Or you might do, or you don't even get as bitchy as the Maha people. Remember, they're all women, even Dave Rubin and Dr. What's his name? Dr. Drew? Drew. Drew Pinsky. Yeah, I'm sorry. His name escaped me. But they're all kind of bitches. I'm trying to think of other interactions between right and left where you see right. Who else do anyone else cross over big name other than like being on Piers Morgan? I think that might be the highlight of Piers Morgan panel is able to get right and left in the same place. But they're debating. They're debating,
But
not
still,
conversing.
it is at least something, right? Where it provides some
Craig,
sort of opportunities for these ideas to clash in a news of the day format still. That draws eyes in a way that I think it
yeah,
speaks to why people want to be on that platform, you know?
like back in the day, this is going to be real old, so no one watching is going to remember. But we had Bill Buckley, and he would talk. He would literally bring on liberals, and there was discourse, there was a discussion of ideas, and I would say trigonometry kind of does that. Trigonometry is pretty good about hitting the
Mhm.
different political spectrum. I would say they tend center left to righter, but every now and then they'll pull a Medi up or they'll pull someone who's farther left onto their show. But I just can't think of anywhere where you're getting actual discussion between right and left. It's attack, attack, attack. And which at least that might be one positive from that debate format that we were talking about last night. And at least you're getting it's combat, but at
Where
least
the
you are
ideas
getting
meet currently.
interaction.
Yes, exactly. It
Ideas
is.
ideas meeting are much better than physical activity meeting at any time
Right.
in my
But it
book.
speaks to, I don't know if it's a chicken or an egg thing, but it just speaks to where we're at, that that's the only place currently where where those ideas meet are in combat, like idea combat
Mhm.
instead of idea, hanging out on
And
the couch, chilling kind of shit.
yeah,
Like,
as you know, we came from a political family, and I've always been on the outside. And but it was always about the discourse. It was the fun of the discourse. It was the and that ability. It's a lost ability. It's a lost ability in modern times. But yeah, that's interesting. To me, I didn't see anything special from that podcast. Do you have other clips you want to show me of them? Show me more of
yeah,
their
there
kind of
was
work.
one more, uh, Anna Kasparian,
I'm sorry, how
and I
big
don't
were they
know.
again? Could you remind me how big they were again?
They're about 130,000 subscribers, and these are
That's not bad.
videos that were just clips of their live stream. I don't know how many their live streams get, but
Yeah.
their clips get a couple thousand later that evening when they're clipping them, because this was today's stream.
Gotcha.
And yeah, they talked Asmongold a little bit.
Here.
Let's get past that to Anna Kasparian.
Do you know what the
talking
Asmongold
about-
Given her
discussion was about?
commentary on
If that
Nithya
was today's stream, I'm just curious if you happen to remember just the top of what they were talking about when it came to Asmongold.
I don't off the top of my head, but let me see.
It's okay. It's not that big a deal. I was just curious if.
It's the same subject. It's the LA mayoral race.
Oh, okay, yeah, because he's having an issue with his own. He went to battle with his own audience, which was interesting. So like hardcore battle. So that's caused a little bit of an uproar on the right.
Talking about whether or not Homegirl conceded on election night when she was crying, when it's because she's crying, I guess. I don't know. But then, yeah, they get to Anna Kasparian talking about Trump's interview, I thought. See, I don't know if this is the same bit from the stream or not. All right. But yeah, no, we'll pick up from here just so they can get, again, them commenting on other parts of the left, because this is where I think it's worth getting some insight of how these real ass motherfuckers see the bigger talking heads on their side.
But yeah, let's hear this quote from Anna as she realizes that the horrible, evil progressive has entered the runoff.
Ooh, actually, I might back up just to
hear this quote from Anna Kasparian. I have a feeling that she was probably a closet Spencer Pratt voter, in the same way that, she was almost definitely a closeted Rick Caruso voter. Remember that when Cenk Uygur publicly announced that he was supporting fucking Rick Caruso the last time around? Anna stayed kind of silent, but she never pushed back on Cenk. I have a feeling a similar thing is happening this time, where it's like she doesn't have the balls to actually say she supported Spencer Pratt. But given her commentary on Nithya Raman, I have a feeling that's who she was hoping would make it through into the runoff. Again, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't have any definitive proof, just some speculation. But yeah, let's hear this quote from Anna as she realizes that the horrible, evil progressive has entered the runoff.
So the Los Angeles mayoral candidate, who you might be familiar with, Spencer Pratt, former reality star, he's the most right wing of the leading candidates. The others include incumbent mayoral candidate Karen Bass, who has been disastrous. And then the other challenger is Nithya Raman, a current city council member, who is even more disastrous than Karen Bass. Yeah, I said it. I live in her district. I'm not interested in hearing anyone from Brooklyn tell me she's amazing. She's not amazing. Okay. Under her leadership.
Was that a shot fired?
Was that
a shot fired at the Majority Report?
1,000,000%. That was about Emma Vigeland and Sam Cedar. Who else from Brooklyn records and talks about politics like we do?
Yeah, I'm not interested in hearing anyone from Brooklyn talk about this. Jesus Christ.
I think it's interesting though, like if Anna is really in LA proper, we were just talking about, like, isn't it Maine voters who are really going to decide if Graham should be Democratic nominee and if he should beat Susan Collins, the incumbent? Like, it's, I don't know, we can make a whole bunch of hoopla out of all this fucking shit, but we're all just fucking talking from the sidelines. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you know where they're located? Do they let you in on where they're broadcasting from?
Kansas City. So
okay, so they have
we can go stop by the Vanguard. Yeah, we can have a
I'll
crossover.
pass, thank you. I don't want to show up. Hello, I'm Mr. MAGA. Yeah, I don't know. If fucking Anna Kasparian is too far right for him, that might be a bridge too far.
Yeah, it would be interesting, I think. I think they would probably take us in,
Corner in my neighborhood has seen endless drug overdose deaths. This woman lives in a freaking ivory tower, giant mansion in Hollywood with her TV writer husband, and has the gated, by the way, lots of security, and then has the audacity to tell Angelinos that we don't need cops.
Which is honestly a lie and something that people on the left criticized her for. She actually, walked back her former statements where during the height of the George Floyd protests, she made a lot of really, really aggressive statements supporting defunding the police. And a lot of people were trying to hold her accountable for that from the left, saying, hey, you made a lot of these bold promises. You said we need to defund the police. We need to stop doing this aggressive tactic of policing and abusing people who are vulnerable and people who are suffering from mental health crisis, right? And she actually was like, no, actually, if I'm the mayor of Los Angeles, like we are going to give plenty of money to the police and we're going to enforce these laws, et cetera, et cetera. She actually moved to the right on the issue in a way that Anna Kasparian seemingly wanted her to, but she doesn't acknowledge that at all. She just has her like fantasy made up that she wants to completely remove the cops from Los Angeles. And that reinforces my belief that you're totally correct. She was intending on supporting Spencer Pratt. And I think what she wanted to be able to do was say, Karen Bass has been such a disaster. We have no choice but to support Spencer Pratt because we can't possibly get behind Karen Bass again. But now that it's Karen Bass, a centrist liberal, or Nithya Raman, let's just say a centrist progressive, she's having a conniption fit.
Yeah.
I do think that's an interesting take that I believe Anna, the Young Turks, everyone on that part of the horseshoe would have much rather had a Spencer Pratt win that second spot.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a horseshoe thing. I think it's because a lot of celebrities and LA businessmen were coming up. Who was it? Who's the big music mogul that held a fundraiser for him in Brentwood? Oh man, it's someone big. It's someone big. And that was what was scaring the Democrats so bad, is that he was actually pulling Democrats, like guys who had been in tried and true for the cause, and he was actually pulling them over. She might be one of them. I don't know. I'm not going to get in her head. But yeah,
I think she just knows the clicks she would have been able to drive from that kind of thing.
For sure.
The point that Butthead's making there, that she very much, and I do think it's part of the horseshoe, is just latching on to the failed state is the reason why we must go further than we ever have before. Like, that's the justification for all that accelerationism, is the need to break off of that gridlock kind of attitude. Like, it's I don't know. I just think it's fascinating to see how these even factions within the far left flank of the party.
As far as clicks, yeah, because now it went from an interesting race that drew a lot of clicks to now no one's going to give a shit about it. So, as far as a viewer driver, bringing in viewers.
Well, and what do you think of? I've seen some people say that if there was any kind of like foul play, why wouldn't Karen Bass and the LA establishment Democratic Party want to face a Spencer Pratt rather than someone else on the left who they're going to have to make an actual case of like why they should be, representing the left. I don't know.
They wanted two lefties in the runoff with no risk of a Republican winning. That's the argument. Why would you? Yeah, this way, no matter what, you get a Democrat. That was the whole point of the jungle primaries in California.
How much of the vote did Trump get in LA? Like, do we really think that there's like a huge untapped?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm not fighting for it. I'm waiting to see. They're doing the investigations, and it's going to be interesting. That whole circus is going to be fun. But the perception to non-Democrats is that's a stinky ass. California has shitty ass elections, whether there's fraud or what are many calling legal fraud. In other words, you just stretch out the days until you can count the votes. They have the worst elections, and I mean even third, even third
I
world
do think
country.
we need to.
Sorry.
Yeah, and for normal, regular people, it's brilliant. For us, this is like Platner Tallarico, because there's a reason why the generic ballot is closing. There's a reason why people hate Democrats more than anything. It's because of shit like California. They don't want that in their state. If you're living in Iowa or Missouri or Kentucky, you don't want this shit nowhere near you.
I think it's going to be a matter of how successful they are at.
Yeah.
I think it's more difficult in a midterm election to use even like a really bad example of that you can it's people are paying less attention, so it's harder to nationalize bad candidates, I think. But I don't know.
Yeah, but not this year.
We're gonna find
this year. The whole GOP strategy. That's why Trump's holding the NAT. We're having a convention this year. There's going to be a GOP convention for all our midterm candidates, and it's going to be up. It's going to be on all. Fox News will be throwing it. Fox News beats all the other cable news networks. 2-1. Them combined, Fox doubles them. So it's going to be Trump, and going. I need these MAGA people. I need Save America. I need the Save America Act. You definitely don't want a Tallarico in your state. You definitely don't want a Pratt in your or Platner in your state. You definitely don't want your elections to be fraudulent like California. You better elect. And remember, there's only 18 swing districts, 14 to 18, depending on which Cook or what's the other one that Larry Sabatos in Virginia. But anyway, depending on which report, Crystal Ball, thank you. But whichever one you choose, anyway, of those 14 or 18, 8 of them are Republican incumbents. So I mean, they're going to be harder to pull. And then we're not even talking about the money advantage because they're going to be killed with money too. This is all Trump. Trump ain't risky. He knows what happens if he loses the House. So it's going to be everything in there. They're nationalizing the elections.
There's a part of what we'll get into later with the shit libs is how much we're putting all the chips on a Maine race when there's a whole bunch of other competitive Senate races and swing districts that are. It's not just about one race. Like that's the thing about midterms is it's so much more difficult to broad brush paint what the movement of the other side is. You need to be more proactive, I think, in a midterm and have a something people want to vote for. I think it's easier to be able to say, hey, this might all go to shit when it's a presidential election. But I don't know. It'll all come out in November. This is though homeboy who won a primary for like the bluest fucking district in the country somewhere in Pennsylvania, but he kind of talks to whether or not there's a risk of a Fetterman effect with Platner, someone who doesn't have the establishment bona fides to be able to say, well, he's going to stay, on the reservation, so to speak. And that's kind of what he speaks to. We're picking up like halfway through this.
Okay.
You're cool with that. And then I've got so this is like populist left talking Platner, and then I've got some shit libs talking Platner too after this.
Serving in the military, that he had a drinking problem, he has PTSD, that he engaged in toxic behavior in relationships, other aspects of which he's completely denied. There was an allegation from a Republican political operative that he had grabbed her by the shoulders forcefully, that he had yanked her by the hand out of a cab, that he had put her arm behind her back.
I just want to say she dated him 2 years ago because she knew he was going to run for office. So this was one of the deepest Republican plans to stab him in the back that you've ever seen. Remember, this all happened.
So this isn't the Democratic establishment. You're saying this is a Republican op.
That one lady was. The other weren't. The others were Democrat ladies, but that one who claimed physical abuse was the Republican operative. In fact, you know what? It was Bethany Mandel. Are you familiar with the name? Bethany Mandel. Okay, she was on Twitter. She was actually a never Trump Republican, so she's an establishment Republican. So she's in with the bulwarks and those Republicans. She's not a MAGA Republican. She's a establishment Republican. It was Bethany Mandel. Her husband is I'm going to say Seth Mandel or Joel Mandel, but they're famous for being super anti-Trump, both of them. Never Trump. I'm sorry, never Trump.
But it is a Republican op. I forgot where I was going with this. But this is all like then. Op.
Yeah, he dated her a couple years ago.
I'm back on my train of thought. Here's what a lot of shit libs are saying is if this is a mix of there's a Republican op, it's establishment, Dems, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's just evidence that this person isn't up to snuff to be a Senate candidate. Maybe if you have that many skeletons in your closet, even if they're, voodoo shrunk down skeletons, they start to stack up or whatever the fuck. Like it's you can't blame the establishment bringing the knives out when it's like, yeah, but you're the one who has all these people you're sexting. Well, yeah. You're the one who has a kick account. You're the one, like, you can't blame other people for having a Totenkopf on your chest or whatever. They didn't do that. Mainstream media didn't do that.
From what I understand, Blue Sky is throwing a fit. They don't like Platner over on Blue Sky. Now, I'm not on Blue Sky, but the operatives that go over and see what's the mood on Blue Sky is a joke. And they're all flipping out. because they know another thing is, he's toxic masculinity is their number one complaint, is that, you've got this toxic male. So your Karens, the Karen wing, like the Hamas wing and the Karen wing of the Democratic Party, they're not happy at all with him. I don't know. I'm happy. I'm cool. I'm glad he's cool, and he ain't going nowhere unless they got, and like I said, unless they got something really up their sleeve. He ain't going nowhere. He's there for good. So, I, all the talking heads.
Did want to include this part of the clip because I didn't think that yesterday we really didn't, neither one of us had a good amount of the details. I'm sure you've looked into it a bit more, it sounds like, since then. But I do like that Chris at least lays out like because I hadn't really heard it all laid out until literally this clip. It had all been just people reacting to what the story
pushed her
was.
inside of
So
a
this
room.
is
Again,
at
she
least
says this
worthy
occurred.
of
He denies
bringing
it,
up.
and the New York Times was unable to confirm it. I wonder what you make of the allegations and also what has been seen as extreme scrutiny into his life that doesn't seem to be matched with a level of scrutiny into others who do not challenge the oligarchy and do not challenge, AIPAC and the status quo on Israel as aggressively as he does.
The oligarchy and, AIPAC, Israel, the Jews.
Yeah, this is
It's the deep state. What the deep state, the place in the imagination the deep state holds for the right. That's what and Israel
the donor
and
class instead
the
of the
oligarchy.
deep class. It's the donor, the oligarchy.
This is challenging for me because I've felt that folks who have been identified as hard scrabbled, populist, left of center white guys get far more leeway than folks like me, Black progressives. And that's a double standard that is largely based on race. And I think that's a conversation we need to have. If I had someone
go to the voters of Maine who just voted for this guy in the election and say, let's talk about race here, though, and like how Graham's race might change things.
Who's he calling racist? The Democrats? Are Democrats racist?
Well, and it's I guess are you asking for like I looked up the stat, it's like 1.8% of Maine voters are Black. It's like 7 states maybe that are lower than him, and it's like Montana, Wyoming, Hawaii kind of motherfucking states.
But let's say, if you're Black, dude, would you want to live in Maine? It's all cold up there. There ain't nothing cool happening. At least in Minnesota where it's cold, you had Prince. You had Prince, and you have a nice scene.
I get to, right. But if I did live there, I get to vote in the primary. Like that's I don't know what else to ask for other than to be able to like have an opinion and have a stance on it that you can say to people, this is where I stood on something. That's what this news of the day feed requires all of us to do, is have an opinion on everything, even if it's something that will impact my life very, very little. I have very little impact over it. But I'm just forced to in this moment. Now I need to think about, well, why, if Graham Platner were Black, he raises a good question here.
Problematic tattoo that related to white folk, I don't think I would be viable.
He wouldn't be. He's not wrong. There is also a racial element, like
even in the majority Black district, because I think the money would not be there for me to run the campaign I needed. I think there's a clear double standard that the left has to talk about as it relates to our racial politics and what is acceptable. And I also have PTSD. I have actual PTSD. And I also have political PTSD because in this state, we elected a fake populist in Fetterman. And when I feel Fetterman vibes, I get very, very nervous. I don't know Platner. I've not followed his race closely. I've had, a grueling 10-month campaign I'm just coming out of. So now I'm really seeing what's on the landscape of opportunity in the House and the Senate. But I do think we need to hold space for folks with genuine grievances, and we need to have a process for those folks who are expressing legitimate concerns about the behaviors and choices of candidates, but to do so in a way that is in the spirit of restorative justice as opposed to the spirit of the politics of personal destruction. And I think
I would want it to be done in the spirit of representative government.
That is something that is really, really necessary, because what we don't want to do is to silence or erase the voices of people who have felt real harm, particularly women. But we also have to make sure that we do not feel that there's a class of candidate that has to be perfect. There are no perfect candidates. And we also have to make sure that those candidates acknowledge their faults. Everyone has them, and how we work through them. So if he said, I have a, I understand when someone says, I made a bad choice as a young man and I was struggling with addiction and that sort of thing. We need to hold space for that. But you also may have intervening years or decades where you did not do any further introspection about what you've done, so that you can feel a sense of atonement that other people can value as legitimate long before you ever considered public office. We can hold those two truths at the same time.
So you don't believe he's done sufficient atonement to have sought public office?
I don't know. I don't know. But I think that is something that needs to be addressed before November 3rd. Absolutely.
Isn't that up to the voters to decide?
Well, it's not just voters who decide who's a viable candidate. Viability is also based on how much money you raise, what your platform is, how you come into, are you a movement candidate, or are you a candidate who says the right things in the right political moment to be aligned?
Again, viability, I think it was Breaking Points or Sager was talking about, like, that's a state where you can visit a good amount of the voting populace, and if they just like you enough, that is viability. Like, I feel like he's ignoring the grassroots reality of, because he's from a very, like, urban, deep blue district.
Well, and didn't Democrats just vote for Platner to represent them in the primary? I mean,
that's what I'm saying, right?
Like isn't that the rules we go by?
Isn't that kind of the rules we go by? And it's kind of a blue, no matter who, like, it's kind of up to the Maine voters now, I feel like. And it's up to the party. Like, if the party's upset because, they're going to be able to paint us with this broad brush, okay, go have good candidates in these other spots. None of this comes down to one race, motherfuckers. So if you want to blame it on all Graham Platner and Maine voters, Democratic voters, for selecting them, then you're a bad part. You would have lost anyway. You're shit anyway. If that's what it all comes down to is, they were able to paint us all like we were Platner.
With a movement that shows considerable political power. I don't know. I've not watched his candidacy that closely to answer those questions, but those are conversations that need to happen within community and not on social media.
So
that's an interesting point, that it's that the conversations we have out in this digital space aren't conducive to something where we're actually, like, trying to hold people to account or do anything other than, like, dunk or get, like, a memeable viral moment. Like, I don't know, man. We're just so cooked. I just think we're so fucked. Did you have anything else on this? I know there was one other.
So the vibe I'm getting is he's establishment and wanting to put Platner down. Is that, or
he's
am I
not
misinterpreting
establishment.
it?
He's very far left. He's super far left, actually.
But he's still worried about Platner?
Yes. My takeaway from this is that from the phrasing that I was picking up, he would believe that Platner is able to change, and he would give anyone that kind of grace or reserve that space, or however it was he was saying it. But he doesn't believe that, knowing how recently all this shit was going down, that it isn't necessarily like, he's atoned for this, he understands already what he's done wrong, and we're ready to send him into a leadership spot. Is without saying that, is how I took that.
Yeah, the issue I'm having is that they're both of the far left contingent. And Platner is a symbol of a perceived battle between establishment and far left. Kind of like MAGA versus the retarded right. Since MAGA is basically the establishment of the Republican Party now. We still have a few rhinos left to kill off, but for the most part, we're in total control. And so we put down the America First candidates. Like tonight, Nancy Mace's gone. And that other guy they were going for, the South Carolina governor, they all wanted the Fuentes and General Flynn and all those people. They wanted that other weirdo senator. And Lindsey Graham won easily with Trump's, got Trump's stamp of approval. And Lindsey Graham, that was the first one that clinched tonight. So that's what I'm saying is,
Interesting.
why isn't he full throated for Platner if he's from the same progressive left, from where the Vanguard guys are coming from? I'm sure they're full throated Platner people, and this lady that's interviewing him, I'm sure she's
I feel
full
like
throat.
She is full throat Platner and is very much on the.
We should probably change our phrasing. We should probably change our phrasing.
What did I say?
Especially when it comes to Platner.
That's right. Yeah, no one clip that. No, I think his point, and it speaks to kind of like the intersectionality kind of thing that the left very much is in love with, is he does want to make a point of like listen, if I need to frame it a different way, what if I was a black dude who had a tattoo about anything that a whole bunch of white people would find offensive, or anything about Jews, anything like it's. When you put it in that context, people pretty much instantly think, oh, election viability is out the window when shit like that happens. But it's because you like these other things that feed into what you want out of a candidate that you're willing to look is my take, and I could be wrong on that.
I saw some discussion where there is a little bit of apprehension among black Democrats because they're going to be losing a lot of power with the redistricting. For example, like Debbie Wasserman Schultz moving into that black district,
running for that district. Yeah, fuck that shit.
And then for 28, when all the states start cutting into the urban districts in order to create more districts, because they want to try to catch up for the 28, you're going to have to withdraw. You're going to remove black power because you have to dilute all that in order to get those finger districts to pull out and cover the rurals. So in other words, so that's probably going to mean less black representation in Congress as well. Also, absolutely. I even hear discussions of moving South Carolina so that Kamala doesn't have that big hammer, because how important South Carolina is, and South Carolina is black Dems. Now that's only conversation. I haven't heard that it's going to be moved, and that discussion will probably come after midterms. Because right now Kamala's got it locked.
You think so?
Because she owns the black vote. No, if no one else can get the black vote.
Well, here's the thing: if Cory Booker's in the race too, and he's showing every signs that he's going to run, then the black vote isn't necessarily going all to one person. You've got an East Coast and a West Coast black vote all of a sudden. I feel like.
I still think Kamala pulls it the majority of it, because the black women are the majority of the black vote. Remember, a lot of black men are flipping
actually
over.
Fucking show up to fucking vote all the time too. So that's gonna make a fucking day.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember if I had something else. There might be another minute of this before we get just a taste of some shit.
Just to be clear, he was a movement organizer in Maine, which is how he came to the attention of people to encourage him to run for office. The primary is today in Maine.
Remind me when we're off mic to have something to talk about on that.
Maine. His, opponent, main opponent, was the former governor, or current governor, Janet Mills, who has suspended her campaign. She is not particularly ideologically aligned with you. She's much more supportive of our status quo with regard to Israel. She has, done things like veto tax hikes on the rich in the state of Maine. She's had an adversarial relationship with labor unions. If you were looking at this race, do you think that voters would be better off choosing her because she's had fewer personal controversies than Graham Platner?
No, but it's a matter of how we hold the people who we would prefer in office to account. I think that's the issue, right? Because sometimes we vote for people. Well, sometimes we vote for people, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we vote for the person who we have a better chance of holding to account and making sure that the candidate functions similarly once in office, right? Because it's very easy, particularly in these moments, to campaign as a progressive. It's radically harder to govern as a progressive. And I speak as someone who is currently in legislative session here in Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg, in the largest full-time state legislature in the country. It is very hard to govern as a progressive. And so how we hold anyone to account, myself included, is by making sure that they fulfill their promises that they made in the campaign, on the campaign trail, and making sure that they will sit down in earnest with people who have genuine concerns and priorities that may not be fully aligned by the time someone wins their primary.
One more on this, because you mentioned you got Fetterman vibes from Platner. I want to explore that a little bit more. So Fetterman and Platner have actually been going back and forth with each other. Fetterman's been attacking him. Graham Platner has been responding, I think, called Fetterman an asshole. Let's go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of how John Fetterman went after Graham Platner.
For me, as a Democrat, I'm never going to carry water for a guy that calls, an American hero a dumb MFer, or someone that, smears Chris Kyle, the American sniper, and claim that he's shooting innocent civilians. You've literally lost count. And he also called rural Americans as racist and stupid. It's countless. It absolutely is. This is a guy that had a problem with me, how I dress, but he seemed to have no problem posing in a towel at a disgusting website that consistently had serious problems about that kinds of depravity.
So I wonder if you could respond there to Senator Fetterman, but also I am curious for you to elaborate when you say that Platner, you're getting Fetterman vibes from him. What is it specifically that you're responding to there?
No, I wasn't specifically referring to Platner regarding Fetterman vibes, but here in Pennsylvania, I get that when people say, oh, I like what you're saying, you seem to be right on all the issues, but how do I know you're not going to be the next Fetterman? So that actually applies to me as well. When people are very traumatized in Pennsylvania and beyond, when they think that they're electing a progressive populist and they get something very different. I don't know Platner enough to weigh in on that specifically, but I can tell you that, I don't know how many black folk you're polling or talking to, but all I can say is we need to have more conversations about what accountability looks like for folks who are running to the left, and making sure that we understand the intersectional nature of progressivism, and ensure that folks' racial politics are aligned with the populist politics that are trending so well these days. That's all.
Yeah.
Again, Maine has a 1.7%, 1.8% black population. He's from the bluest district of all of the fucking nation, but he's in Pennsylvania with plenty of a black population. I get where he's coming from, but why is this relevant to the race in Maine? Everyone has a message to run on or something to push. Go ahead.
For me, I think it's speaking to that fear that's coming from the blacks in the Democratic Party right now. I think they know, they see that maneuvering going on that I was talking about earlier, and a loss of power, a loss of representation within their own, who they caucus with politically. So I think that's where he's coming from.
Senate race?
I know.
It was Janet Mills or
yeah, no, I take your point. I take your point. Yeah.
I just don't feel like that is a particular state where it's we really need some black representation up here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Maine voters would
example,
be that's the first black person I've ever seen. You know what I mean? I don't know.
He keeps making the distinction between what he called it. It was a populist, progressive populist, and then he had I'm not going to go back, but he made a distinction between the two. The about worrying about the racial progressive candidates. Is that how he labeled them?
Was it right here at the end?
Right here at the end. He made a distinction.
I don't know how many black folk you're polling or talking to, but all I can say is we need to have more conversations about what accountability looks like for folks who are running to the left, and making sure that we understand the intersectional nature of progressivism, and ensure that folks' racial politics are aligned with the populist politics that are trending so.
Racial politics are aligned with populist politics. There's the rub. I think that's you're getting to the heart of his concern, is that Platner represents a rising, that hunger for that populace. But I mean, a lot of your populists in the Democratic Party are the Mamdamis, or that woman who just took second place in L.A. Although that's more on the
Again, he's
mayoral
far
level.
left. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
about
those are they're
finding.
racial. They're racially. I would put them in instead of the populist. I would put them in the racial category. That he was making the
Really,
distinction.
Mamdani, you would put him more as a racial politician than someone who ran on a
He
populist kind of
leans into
message.
he leans into his Islam.
He
There's a
leans
lot of
into
it.
both, right?
I would say yeah. No, I'm gonna agree with you. He does lean into both, but Platner doesn't have that. Platner, I don't know. Maybe he just hates him because he's a white guy. I don't know. I don't know.
That's the
It doesn't
thing.
make sense to me why he would be fighting him.
Platner needs to lean into his white power then, because that's really in Maine what's going to help him out here. Well, what did I say? Did you see there was a meme? Well, no, it's not even a meme. It's a real thing. Platner sent out it's a map of all the places in the nation he got donations from in like the day after the allegations or whatever. And Ruby Ridge in like the top of Idaho was like huge. Like it's there are these horseshoe aspects that show up in weird little ways that it's like, oh man, this is kind of funny.
Yeah, weird. That
I
was an
think that's
interesting
on that
conversation. I'm not quite sure what to
Mhm.
take from it yet. I'd have to digest on that a little while.
I do honestly. I think it's commendable that he was able to. I feel like he was actually speaking something there without speaking to any like details that he might not have all the information on. Blah blah blah. It felt like I could chew on it at least. It wasn't just like platitudes or whatever.
Yeah,
But
because
yeah,
I would
no,
have
interesting
expected a
conversation.
far left person would have, because as far as I know, Platner is the avatar for the far left in that race. So I just that he isn't lining up behind him. It does clarify my viewing on establishment versus. I don't know. I got to think on it a little bit.
Breaking Points is an interesting lefty populist station. That's definitely why they end up in my fucking feed so much. Is I keep clicking whoever it is they can have for the next
no
interview.
matter who.
But this is Shitlib. So Wick TV, I think we've talked about before, similar to
Yeah.
the Lip and Learn panel. But I think Wick TV is more likely to have people who are like independent or sometimes people who lean right, I think. But mostly a lot of shitlibs and then some lefties. But they are talking Platner as well.
Platner has Graham Platner is running for the Democratic nomination in Maine, and it's likely he will win that nomination. So the question is, does blue no matter who apply to this man? Why or why not? Do we trust him? Is he on the team? Should he have Democratic support? Should he have liberal?
I think it's a fair question. Platter has no history. You know what I mean? Like Sanders, you've seen fruits that he's born. You know what I mean? Well, he's never accomplished anything, but you know what you've seen him in action and what he's pushed for and stuff like that.
Voted on. Yep.
Yeah, Platter has no. He kind of came out of nowhere. His only history is that he's a rich kid who has that oyster farm that only sells oysters to his mom's restaurant. So he's never been in government. He's never done anything. He's never been on like any boards or politically active. I mean, I do kind of see that. Yeah, Fetterman was like a small town mayor or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think state house, right? I think he was a state rep.
Yeah,
but
small
he at
town
least
mayor,
had some
yeah.
sort of. Oh, was he a mayor first? Even okay, cool.
Yeah, bona fides.
Yeah, no, exactly.
He had bona
He had
fides.
some sort of experience. Yeah, exactly.
Rural support. We're going to ask all these brave soldiers to sound off, give us their opinions. We're going to start with Jola. Jola, go ahead, open us up.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So we cannot survive in a political environment where Republicans walk around dropping big piles of shit everywhere, and then we freak out whenever a Democrat forgets to wipe good enough. So right now, Graham Platner, in general, he has around, I would say,
he really thought he cooked with that one.
1% of the controversy of Donald Trump. But when we talk about the Democratic version of Trump, which I take some of those criticisms and comparisons This guy at least was actually in active combat. You know, he saw his friend right next to him get blown up by an IED. He has a reason to be a little bit messed up. Donald Trump was born that way. Donald Trump was born saying his little 1-year-old daughter has sexy legs. He's a freak. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Pause. What I just want to say, this is going to be a good test of. Everyone keeps saying, well, he's like Donald Trump. He's just a disgusting person like Donald Trump. Well, the majority of Americans didn't think Donald Trump was all that disgusting. And we'll see, because again, this is a what'll be delivered in November answer. You know, the answer won't be delivered till November. But in other words, I don't think the Democrats may see him on equivalent or even better than Trump. But I don't know if that translates to outside the Democratic bubble or reality distortion field. Whatever barrier of perception, however, whatever you want to name it, that's going to be interesting to me.
And all the infallible logic of, yeah, he's fucked up in the head. He saw his friend got killed right next to him. That's why he needs to go to the Senate. Like, I'm not following, bro. I do not know what that means.
I'd love to see that in an ad. Sure, he's fucked up in the head.
Sure, he's fucked up in the head.
Remember, yeah.
That's
We'll
right.
get into it as we go.
Signing endorsement.
Luton, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm blue no matter who. Graham's got some controversy, but we're still in the primaries, so we got one more day left to shit talk him and go through all of our grievances, etc. But I do think, I guess, once the nomination is secured, I think if you were working on any of the other campaigns, like Miller's, that you should have to continue on and go and help Graham's campaign too. I think you should give it the same energy that you gave the other nomination that you were excited for.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. We'll get into it. Hutch.
Yeah, I'm pretty maximally blue no matter who. I have kind of a reputation of biting some pretty insane bullets. So, of course, that applies to Platner. I think I'd draw the line at kind of sanitizing what I think are the obvious problems. I think it's kind of patronizing to voters to pretend like these problems are not problems. So I'm going to be honest when people ask my opinion about him, but I'm not going to back away from my principle, which is that the structure of the Senate, the composition of the Senate, whoever controls the majority is an issue that is so much bigger than one particular candidate. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Well, thank you. And we will get into it. PBP, are you with us?
Which is, it's strikingly similar logic to any of the Republicans in 2016 who kind of held their nose and said, yeah, but the Supreme Court's pretty important, so I'm going to pull the lever for Donald Trump. Like, I need to vote for my party no matter what is how we got into this fucking mess. And to think it's like the only way we're going to dig out of this.
The problem is do you believe that Platner is acceptable to those outside of the way you see Platner? In other words, what I'm saying is they're like, well, first of all, I love how they're all vote blue no matter who, and I bet you not one of them's in Maine. First of all, because again, it's a Maine vote, and also how they discount what Platner represents. Like I said, I'm telling you, if you got inroads to any Democratic people, you need to be screaming the GOP are nationalizing these candidates. Let me show you what's happening. This is real on the ground data real quick.
Yeah.
Let me go, because this is fascinating. This isn't or subjective.
Yeah. I'm going to take this off real quick. And I don't know what you've got going on. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know what you've got going on the rest of this week, but instead of having tomorrow off, on Thursday, I'm going out to a town hall for that Austin Allman guy, the independent running in CD1.
Okay.
So if we want 4 episodes in this week, that means an episode tomorrow instead of Thursday night.
Okay, that would work. That would work.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull it up this way, but I'm not signed in here, so it's going to look funny. Let me put this up real quick.
Yeah. I will look at the newsstand here and wonder what the news of the day. Oh, you know what? While you're doing that, I can waste some time by going to X. I'm going to call it X. I'm going to use the proper.
I dead name it all the time.
Yeah, I dead name it all the time. 10 years ago, I'll fill in some time with my favorite Twitter account. 10 years ago today, President Obama privately met with Bernie Sanders. I'm sure they were game planning. What else did we have?
Bernie should have won. He got robbed.
He got robbed. Peruvian general election was on that day.
Yeah, and the fascist one, or what some refer to as the fascist. And I want to go back to the last story real quick. Not only should Bernie have run, that election, if we would have had Bernie versus Trump, regardless who won, it would have healed. It would have been cathartic because you would have had the true populist left, because that was, of all the populist left movements over the last decade, that was the purest one, in my opinion. That was the
exactly what that was, tapping into something. This
yes.
was 2 days ago on the 10 years ago today timeline. Clinton officially won the California and New Jersey primaries, confirming that she would get enough delegates to be the presumptive nominee. So we were in that 10 years ago today. That's what was going on, or 10 years and 2 days ago today.
Someone close to us, I remember that was real eye-opening for me, because someone close to us was very anti-Hillary, super Bernie, and watching them flip when Hillary won, and I mean, so Bernie that they hate, this person hated Hillary, was saying bad things about Hillary, but as soon as Bernie was out, Hillary was awesome, and then it was kind of like the falling in love thing. But anyway, this is data from the ground.
Partisan politics.
Yeah, notice this is the new voter registration. So these are actual people voting up across swing districts, key battleground districts. Net registration since 24, Republicans are up 229,000. Democrats have gained 1 district, Republicans have gained 27 districts.
Yeah, like have beat the other one.
And that's what I'm saying, is they keep saying, they keep coming up with excuses for why Platner is great, and that might work amongst you're preaching to the choir, and the choir might go, yep. I'm just saying you have to look outside your bubble as well and see how it's playing, and that's what I think. That's why I don't think the establishment is trying to stamp, because they're populists all over the place everywhere else that they're not targeting like Platner.
Right.
That aren't getting Atlantic articles, that aren't getting New York Times articles. There are progressive law everywhere else.
It's like blaming the Massey loss on Israel and AIPAC, when it's like, well, wait, haven't all these other targets been primaried because they didn't go along with redistricting, or because they had this or this fight or the other one, instead of it being Israel?
So they have it out for Platner directly. But no, go ahead. Yeah, I just found that was interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll let some shit libs babble. Well, we might be coming up on our limit here pretty soon, but we can fit more of this in tomorrow night too.
You're muted on your end, sir. We'll go back to him. Tolly.
Always a good sign.
Give us your thoughts.
Hello, I am Tolly. I am a registered independent, Republican-leaning, voted Democrat my entire life before the 2024 election. I think that blue, no matter who, is completely coherent and defensible. However, we saw what that type of thinking that many people on this panel today will acknowledge did to the Republican Party. I don't think trying to rerun the 2016 playbook is a good idea. I think also people are discussing this race as though it is about the Senate or kind of standing by principles and morality. The thing that I don't think people have really considered is it's entirely possible that Graham Platner wins Maine and the Dems still remain the minority in the Senate. And then you just have Graham Platner there as part of your problem. I wish that the Republicans, way before I was, leaning towards their movement, had made better decisions. And I hope the Democratic Party does not tie themselves to a really erratic and untrustworthy anchor like Graham Platner.
Can you imagine being an independent voter in Maine who votes for Graham Platner? The Democrats don't get the majority, and this lady's telling you, yeah, so you just got this shit senator that you wanted for no good reason. And you're like, I just got someone who represents my thought. That I don't know. It's again, it speaks to, it's not about what Maine wants. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We'll get into it as we go. PvP.
Please tell me my mic is working this time.
It is working this time. Go ahead, give us what you got.
This guy is
so
a treat.
I told Wick that I was coming on this panel as a pissed off independent, and I'm not gonna throw a bunch of heat at people. I'm not here to scream at you guys, but I stand
He screams several times.
By that as a description of why I showed up. I'm not that interested in doing these blood sports anymore, but this particular race, this particular candidate speaks to me in a way that I think is kind of important, and I bring a little bit of a perspective that maybe isn't usually on these panels. I've been a registered independent for my entire adult life. I did vote Kamala. So if the question is, have I voted blue no matter who? Yes, I have done that, but I have never asked anybody to do that because I'm an independent and I am not a partisan. I am not.
So it's, again, he's explaining why it's important to listen to him on why he has especially good, a good viewpoint on this WIC TV panel of like 13,000 views. I wonder how many of them are anybody in Maine. Like, it's anyone who's voting in the primary that day or going to vote in the general election listening to this fucking conversation. No, but we all got to fucking talk about it because this is what we do.
Gritted teeth because I was not happy about that candidate, but I would play ball because that is what the moment demanded. In this moment right now, I am looking at a candidate who is risking dragging down every other Democrat with him. I'm looking at a candidate who is flawed on a level that I can barely express in words. And in this moment, if you want me to take you seriously, then you need to take seriously every flaw that this candidate is bringing with him. If you don't take it seriously, then all that tells me is that you are a partisan and that you haven't thought that hard about this, and that probably you're incredibly foolish because you're failing to understand that this candidate is going to affect other candidates that are not him. That is every other Democrat on the ballot. So if you actually care about a Senate majority or a House majority, then you need to get your shit together and you need to be prepared to actually answer these questions about this particular candidate, because without an answer to them, you're risking everything else for what?
Because everyone in Maine is coming to you. Everyone in Maine is going to ask you, so you better have the answer.
As a MAGA, please, I'm telling you, please do not listen to him. Do not listen to him because he's right. Do not listen to him.
No, I know he's absolutely right. Here's the thing. What does it matter if you're right on WIC TV? What
no, that's
does
correct.
It make?
Yeah, that's correct.
If he
I agree
spent
with
a fraction
you.
of the time that all of them do arguing online, just like helping a candidate who they do believe in, the world would be such a better place.
You don't even have an answer.
I'm sorry. Did you have something?
No. I was just going to say, no. As far as as affecting the Maine, he has no power. Again, he's just whatever. That's why it's interesting to me how he's so angry and he's delivering it almost attack-like. Whereas if it were analysis, if it were delivered as analysis, okay, I'm not in Maine. I'm not a voter in Maine. You know, of course, Maine's going to do what they're going to do. If I were in Maine, I would vote for him because whatever. But if he was like but let's consider that. Because of the internet, because of the modern age, and because we know the GOP strategy is to nationalize every bad candidate. I mean, you should see the memes of the choice between what Democrats think men are, and it's transgender Tallarico and Nazi Platner.
This was Ben Shapiro's topic on his show today. Is the less idea of masculinity. And meanwhile, he like pretends he knows basketball when he gets an update on like the NBA finals. But
but bros aren't watching that. The same bros that were watching the trans commercials on their football games, they're the ones who are seeing the memes. That's the only thing breaking into the bro bubble. Analysis isn't breaking into the bro bubble. Memes are breaking into the bro bubble. So that's what I'm saying is that's where he is correct. But again, he comes in attacking and instead of analytical. So
I just apparently he's got a big gripe with Graham Platner. Apparently, I don't know why. It might be some lore that we're going to find out, some backstory that relates.
I really want to see. I'm interested in this debate though because, like I said, he is correct about the nationalization of that candidate.
For tomorrow, I will have timestamps of this is 3 hours, 31 minutes. I'll have timestamps of some really good bits and maybe even someone else reacting to this.
Go ahead. In fact, let's go ahead and pause it here because I'm going to have to break out here pretty soon anyway.
Cool. That's perfect.
That's a good place to break it out.
Yeah, it's about 12 minutes. I'll remember that timestamp. But yeah, we'll come back because it's definitely going to be a thing I get the argument for if you were a Democratic operative, you need to have answers for these things, and that's what's kind of a fun game to play if that's what they're looking to do.
Because
But
the
instead,
candidate in
everyone comes
Florida,
at it.
yeah, the candidate in Florida, the candidate in Arizona is going to get asked by the local Arizona news about Platner. You know what I'm saying? Like in the one in Florida stumbled over, he had no answer. He had no way. I'll bring that clip with me tomorrow. And he looked, he was like, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, he was a deer in the headlights when they confronted him about Platner. Other Democrats who, you know, it's going to be interesting.
When they confronted him about Platner, like how did they phrase the Yeah, this will be great. This will be wonderful.
I will find
bring
the
that clip for sure.
with me. Yeah, it's Florida news.
Because that's the thing about perception is reality. Even if it's something where it's like, you know, am I really supposed to have a good answer here? Well, if you don't have a good answer for why you shouldn't need a good answer, it still looks bad. You know, like that's the optics of politics. So yeah, no, that'll be fun.
And like I said, there's been a lot of discussion about that 2012 race when Todd Aiken out in Missouri and Christine O'Donnell, I'm not a witch, in Delaware or Maryland, one of the East Coast states. But yeah, and there's been a lot of discussion about that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. And it's going to be blared everywhere on the internet. It's going to be blared everywhere on Fox News. And it's
2012. That's a presidential election. That ain't a midterm, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think it's easier to nationalize certain races in a presidential.
Underestimate Trump at your own peril. That's all I'm going to say. The guy who came up. Okay, yeah, I agree with you. Generally and historically,
that's the thing. Yeah,
midterms aren't national.
When he's on the ballot, he does great, and when he isn't on the ballot, they don't do as well. Like that's.
But that's what I'm saying. He is putting himself on the ballot. That's what I'm saying. He is, as the past elections have shown, MAGA is energized. Those low propensity voters came out in Indiana. They came out in Texas. They came out.
Then it'll all come out. You know, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have a crystal ball either, unless you got one. I see globes in the background, but I don't see no crystal ball.
I actually made an alchemy room, but I wasn't happy with it. So I'll try to premiere that one tomorrow. I did make an alchemy
with
room.
It a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to hang out in the alchemy room tonight, but I wasn't happy with how it turned out. I wanted more of a dungeon feel to it. Yeah, so I'll probably have that tomorrow.
Yeah,
all right, cool.
Yeah, we'll have more Platner stuff. Maybe some fallout from either the primary, or if we ended up with any riots, or if we ended up with more kinetic action in Iran and that good shit.
I'm shorting riots. I don't think the energy is there. It's in the state of Texas. It's in Texas. Like I said, Reddit was pretty reasonable. Yeah, even his own witnesses turned against him. There was no outrage. You know, you figure if you're gonna get outrage anywhere. And I hadn't visited Reddit in a while. Maybe it's got more base, and it's in the last however many months I checked in on it. Yeah. So,
but yeah, no, Kalshi, reach out to us because we will advertise the odds on riots in different cities anytime y'all want. Yeah, and we will catch y'all tomorrow. Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.